Aloha! Well, episode number 3. This woman is, I keep saying this, she's spectacular, and I'm often, I guess, not wrong, but she really is. I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with Taylor Castriota, and it was awesome. It was a really good experience, and I learned a lot about this woman, and I think you will too. I think she's inspiring and motivational, and it's not hard to figure out and to see why she's successful in what she does, and I have no hesitation in saying that she'll be very successful in the future as well. So I hope you enjoy this. Like I said, they're a little long, and I'm working on figuring out how to mix this up, but in the meantime, hopefully it's something you can put on and enjoy. Like I said, it's a fun conversation. She's a fun person. She's an incredible woman, and this story is something that I think you'll all enjoy. So without further ado, Taylor Castriota. So, ladies and gentlemen, aloha, welcome. My guest today is Taylor Castriota, and we have known each other for about a year and a half now or so almost. But you've been with the Marvel Universe live show for quite a few years. So, yep. Anyway, I'll go through a series of questions. Mostly, I just kind of, as I've said in the past, this is an opportunity for me to get to know everybody and get to know those people that I come in contact with, especially with unique and diverse backgrounds. So while I know some of the information I'm already going to ask you, most of this is for the viewers to kind of get to know you as a person and as a performer and things like that, right? So we start at the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Awesome.
Yep.
What took your family there?
My grandparents actually both were born there as well, and my dad's dad, so my grandpa, was a hotel developer. And he developed most of the major big hotels that are on Oahu.
Oh, okay.
And so that was his job from the time he was really young. He was really good at it. So my grandpa and grandma were there for their whole generation doing that. Obviously I had my dad, and then my mom and her family just were there as well and lived there. My parents met in kindergarten and got married in Hawaii, and then had me. So it's just like my whole family, that's kind of just where everyone started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So then you lived there presumably for at least a couple years.
Mm-hmm. I lived there until I was about 10, and then we moved to Colorado.
Okay. Is that, I didn't even ask you. So mom and dad in the hotel business as well?
He used to be in the hotel business. After a while, he realized that it is extremely stressful, and there's a lot of actually very sneaky people in the hotel business. He kind of did hotels, restaurants, and casinos. That's what my grandpa ended up doing a little bit after he started developing hotels in Hawaii, and there's some very sneaky people, especially in restaurants and casinos. And my dad is very much the opposite of that type of person, and realized very quickly that that wasn't for him, and then jumped ship, and we moved to Colorado, and he started his own business that is it's really cool. It's a franchise. It's a franchise all over the country, and it's a virtual office company where you can go, and it's for small business owners, rent out offices, use like a phone answering service. So when you call, and it's like if you wanted to use them, you could go rent an office from them, rent meeting rooms, and make like your athletic training look like a really big, awesome like professional business. And then you could use like the phone answering service, so that when someone calls your cell phone, the receptionist at the office says, Jay Christensen, whatever athletic training, how can I help you? It really helps small business owners get off their feet. So
that's amazing.
Very much the opposite of casinos and restaurants and hotels.
Shady, sketchy.
Exactly. So he does that, and it's
awesome.
a huge franchise all over the country, just to help small business owners get off their feet and become successful.
That's amazing. So
cool.
Then does that also carry internationally as well? Does he have clients internationally?
He's starting to.
Nice.
There's about 60 franchises in the States right now, so they're just starting to look abroad. And just last week they had their 16th anniversary of the company. So it's been growing for a really long time, and that was the whole reason my family moved to Colorado, was so that he could start kind of this new different business. And it's taken off, and it's really cool to watch.
Right on. Shout out to Dad then.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, Dad. Woo!
Nice. So mom in the family business as well? Stay-at-home mom, or what does she do?
Stay-at-home mom. And then me and my two younger sisters obviously all graduated through college, have our own jobs, live in different parts of the country, and so no one for my mom to take care of anymore. So she has a background in interior design, so she actually kind of works hand in hand with my dad doing all the interior design work for all the offices.
Okay.
And they're actually like really cool modern spaces. So she does all of the paint and the photos on the walls and the carpet, and like she really, like when they buy these big kind of like office warehouse buildings, they're pretty, you know, fluorescent lights and white walls, and it's, you know, they're not pretty, so she really transforms them into a really like cool space for these business owners to be in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
Shout out to mom as well.
Yeah, go mom.
Family team, nice.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned you have 2 sisters. There are 3 children then.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you fall in the sibling?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest of 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the younger 2 sisters?
Maddie and Annabelle. Maddie's a year younger than me. Annabelle's 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
Maddie, middle sister, lives in Los Angeles, and she is in interior design as well. She works for a firm out there in LA. Nice. And then youngest sister Annabelle lives in Seattle, and she's in fashion. She works for Nordstrom Corporate. She used to do wedding dress design and stuff like that. Now she's in like their corporate sales design team. So she's like the fashionista of the family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did she play a part in a lot of your costuming and things like that as you kind of...
She definitely asked for like pictures of things, especially when they started sketching up my costume, because for this show is a brand new costume.
Sure.
She wanted to see all the sketches, and she knew like all of the designers that I was going to when they flew me out to New York for the fittings.
Nice.
She like knew the places I was going, like Parsons and stuff, and she thought that was so cool. And I like, you know, I have no idea. I don't know much about fashion at all.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, you're going to this place. They made this and this and this. That's so cool. I was like, oh, cool, like awesome. So very much me and all my sisters are very very opposite.
Yeah, but I mean that's nice you have a similar tie in that she can be involved and feel like she has some kind of investment in what you're doing. And
yes, definitely.
Awesome. Nice. So did they, I guess, so you have 2 siblings, your childhood all in Colorado.
Yep.
Were they also born in Hawaii, or I mean 1 year
the
younger? Right?
Middle sister was born in Hawaii. Youngest sister was born in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about your childhood in Colorado. Did you enjoy living there? Or?
Oh, I loved living there. I think I didn't realize how great of a place Colorado is, and I'm from Boulder specifically. Like the mountains and the snow. Like I didn't realize it sometimes until I kind of left when I went to college. How awesome Colorado is.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I had the mountains. I grew up hiking. I biked to school every morning. I lived in a really like woody area with lots of like tree houses and streams and stuff. So I kind of grew up like outside, and I was super like not just tomboy, like people mistake me for a boy, tomboy. Cut my hair short, wear boys' clothes. Like I was very tomboy when I was younger.
All in.
All 100% in, yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question. With all the nature around you and just kind of going about, it's interesting that you chose a career path that you did, and presumably were so tomboyish. Were your siblings similar, or did they kind of kick against that?
No, the youngest sister was a cheerleader, so like not really at all. And then middle sister, she was a snowboarder. She grew up really good, competed in snowboarding.
What a great place to do that.
Yeah, so we're all athletic, but very separate parts of, I guess, sports, you would say.
Okay, still active.
Yeah, all very active.
Girly, princessy, can't be bothered to do anything.
Yes,
That's
very
awesome.
Very active, very sporty. My parents too. Hike, like my dad hikes 14ers every year in Colorado, which is mountains that are higher than 14,000 feet. Like my mom hikes like a crazy woman every day, so very active, like healthy, fit family. So nice. I think that kind of helped a lot too.
Like a crazy person, but she's not crazy.
No,
well, maybe a little.
She's a little crazy, but
every family has one.
Right? Oh yeah,
they're all crazy. So you grew up until you're 10. That's at least some measure of elementary school. But how was school in Colorado? Did you enjoy school?
Yeah, I was a pretty bad troublemaker.
Yeah.
Like in elementary and middle school, I was like kicked out and suspended several times. Like I was just I was a really like aggressive kid. Like I competed in all the boys sports. I wanted to be like a tough guy, because like growing up, girls were pretty girly and prissy, and I don't know, I think I didn't resonate a lot with that, so I wanted to be the boys and get in the fights and do all the mischief stuff. And so that's like, I wouldn't say I had like a hard time in school. I actually am a really great student, but
That was
I
gonna be my
like
next question. Yeah.
no, like I love the school part. I love. I'm a very good student, but like I got in fights a lot, and I was in like I was suspended from both middle school and elementary school for fighting several times. So.
Were you fighting other boys or other
Fighting
girls,
other
or?
boys, fighting other boys. Yeah.
Yeah, the girls don't put up much of a fight, I suppose. So.
No.
So then, what changed between middle school and high school, or did you kind of that carry over into high school?
I got better in high school because I was kind of at the height of my gymnastics career when I was in high school. And I fell in love with gymnastics because I think it took so much time and discipline and energy to put into something. And I feel like I kind of needed some sort of an outlet to put all of my, I don't know if you'd call it aggression or energy or whatever it was.
All of the above, yeah.
Yeah, into something that was really, really hard. And gymnastics was perfect for that. You had to be at the gym 8 hours a day and be really strong and really disciplined on yourself. And I think that really helped me kind of shape up a little bit. And I was also good at it. And in high school was kind of the height of my career, and realizing that I could go into competing in college, I kind of got my act together a little bit.
Straighten up.
Yeah.
So then your grades, presumably, you got to have decent grades to get in college. Was that cognizant in your mind? Was that the plan all along, as to, hey, I'm really good at this. If I apply myself, I could maybe actually do something with this? Or was that just a kind of happy coincidence that
I think I just I loved gymnastics, and I never really thought it could take me anywhere, especially now into a career.
Sure, yeah.
And I think just eventually the talk of colleges started coming up, and I started getting letters from colleges to go out and meet their teams. And I was kind of like, oh, wait a minute, like this, I can go somewhere with this. And it's kind of helped me get, like I said, kind of get my act together.
Nice. Well, it's funny you mention that, because my thought was, usually I would ask, like, if I was to speak to your classmates in middle school, that would be a very different conversation. Hey, tell me about Taylor. And then, like, the response, I'm sure, would be vastly different than if I asked one of your high school classmates.
Oh, yeah.
But in my research on you, I found that you were, what's the word I'm looking for? You get kind of kicked out of your Powerpuff game.
My God. I was like, I think this is where he's going with this.
Yeah, that's...
and that was still that was in high school. That was actually, I think, my sophomore, junior year of high school.
So that's why I thought when you're telling me these stories of middle school, I was like, oh, this like went into high school even, but it has an isolated situation.
I mean, I think high school, like, it's much more serious if you get suspended or kicked out or whatever, especially with the thought of, like, I want to do gymnastics in college one day.
Yeah.
And that was just, like, again, that was, like, my aggression, like, peeking out again. And no, like, and Powerpuff is like all girls, and you play against all girls, and I'm sure you saw the video, it's on YouTube. Like, flattened this girl, and it's, come on, Taylor, it's like flag football, pull the flag.
Grab the flag, yeah.
But no, that just was not in my brain at all. And so I completely tackled her, and they're like, and they even, like, on the microphone, and my dad's the one that's filming that video. Okay. They're like, Taylor Hemeter has been ejected.
Ejected.
And everyone's like, yeah. My dad's like, no way. Like, he was so proud, which was, was pretty funny. But that's, like, sometimes, I don't know, I have, like I said, I don't know if it's energy or aggression or what the heck it is, but I'm very physical in the sports that I do. And but you're right, that was in high school, and that was we'll say that was my slip up in high school.
Sure, fair enough. You're allowed a couple of those. So then, do you find, especially now, I assume, well, I don't know, where in that game was that? Was that the very beginning of the game, or do you remember?
That was in, like, the first 10 minutes of the game, yeah.
Nice. So that's what I was curious, because the more I speak with elite athletes and high performance athletes, and having some athletic background myself, do you find that you can kind of flip that switch and you get into the zone of performance and activity very easily, or do you kind of go in and out of that depending on what?
I think I go in it pretty easily. I feel like it's a very nice, natural feeling for me, and I enjoy it a lot. So when I get to be able to do that, I really like it.
Let's go. Nice.
Yeah.
So growing up, is this, given what you do now and what you have done in the past, if we talk to, 14, 13-year-old Taylor, is this where you expected you would be? I mean, is this what you wanted to do when you grew up, kind of a thing?
I didn't know that this was even a career path. I had no idea. It wasn't even until after I graduated college and I couldn't compete in gymnastics anymore that I was like, wait a minute, like, I don't want to go to an office. Like, I need to be in, like, an environment with, like, people that want to flip around and tumble, and, like, that's what I still need to do. And so I started looking into like career paths that had that. Obviously there's like gymnastics coaching and stuff, which I started out doing because I still wanted to be involved in the sport a lot. And it was actually in Florida that I was coaching, and one night after I was coaching my girls, there was a stunt audition, and most stunt auditions happen in gymnastics gyms. And so I was there, and I was like, I asked the owner of the gym, I'm like, can I go to this audition? Is that fine? He was like, yeah, like classes are over, like go ahead. So I jumped in and I got the job. It was the first audition I went to, and I got it.
That's amazing.
And I didn't, like, I knew obviously being in Florida that there were shows at the theme parks, but I didn't know that they were like stunt shows and fighting and there's acrobatic stuff. And so it was a stunt show called The Eighth Voyage of Sinbad at Universal Studios in Orlando. And yeah, I got it and I trained into it, and I was like, okay, like this is what I'm doing. This is awesome. Did theme park stuff for 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, as a performer, you go to any and every audition and kind of just see what sticks. And a friend at one of the shows I was working at in Florida at Legoland told me about this Marvel audition. And I was like, oh, like I've never heard of Felt Entertainment, but that sounds cool. Don't really know what touring's about. And I went to the audition and I got it and was like, okay, like this is what I'm doing next. And 5 years later, I'm still here.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Nice. So I think, I mean, especially as you speak about this, and as I talk to people about what I do, there's still kind of this maybe kind of confusion on exactly what it, because like, as you know, we get people say, man, like, how do you do all this on ice, right? Stuff like that, where what exactly is we doing? So as you have these conversations, what do you think is the biggest myth about what you do? Like, what's this misconception that you find happens more and more?
I think people think a lot of the times that like we're actually like hitting each other sometimes. Like people ask me about that a lot, and I have to explain like that it's a stunt show and that I'm falling a lot. People, like, I think because of movies a lot now, people have a good idea of what stunts are. Like, sure. I think, you know, years ago you'd say stunts, no one would really know what it is, but now there's so much light shed on it from a lot of the movies that people find an interest in it. So they know what stunts are, but when we're doing it live, people are like, well, how's it different from movie stunts, what you're doing? And so I kind of explain that. So I get that question a lot. And then the number one question I always get is, how did you get into it?
Right.
Like, how the heck did you become a superhero? How does that happen? And I'm like, it's just an audition. Like, it's just an audition. Like, right. And they're like, oh, like they don't realize that it's not, you have to know all these people and go into movies and do all this to be able to do it. It's an audition for performers.
Well, in full disclosure, in defense of what you're saying as well, though, it's not just anybody that shows up is going to get this job either.
Oh, no.
Though. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to understand is the 44, 45 cast members that we have were handpicked from literally thousands
and
of people.
Thousands. Yeah, I know girls back in Orlando. There's a huge community of stunt people in Orlando that have auditioned for our show like 4 and 5 times, and they're extremely talented, and they're just an inch too short or an inch too tall, or like their face structure isn't good for any of the female characters. Like it's such. The hard part of this job is you might have like the perfect skills for this, and like I'm sure there's a girl out there that has a way better skill set than I do for this, but she was 2 inches too short. Or, you know, there's a job that I could have out there that would be my dream job, but I'm too broad in the shoulders, or I'm too this or too that. Like, it's a lot of the times you're not picked on your ability, you're picked on your appearance. It's called typecasting.
Sure. And
I've been to so many auditions where you go and there's a couple hundred people and they stand everyone up next to each other and they say, you. All right, everyone else go home, before they even start any kind of skill work. And it's all just appearance, but that's also what makes our show so great, is because these characters look so much like the real characters, which is what we're doing. We're bringing these characters to life. So it's a difficult and it's a double-edged sword. It's a great thing and a hard thing for performers. But people always ask me a lot, how did you get this job? How'd you get into this? And you're very much right that you're not going to go to the audition and assume you're going to get it, because you can do a standing back talk. But if you have the right nose shape, maybe, like
or wrong nose shape.
Or wrong nose shape, yeah.
It's such a unique and different dynamic in that, like you said, this is a very non-traditional job setting in that you could get or lose or keep your job based on so many different variables. I think that speaks to you as a performer and the rest of the cast for that matter, in the sense that yes, you may have the look, but do you possess a skill set that can match that? Or vice versa, you have the skill set, as you say, like you have a lot of friends, male and female, that are wildly talented, but we don't necessarily need that body type or that height or that look or whatever the case may be. And there could be a Caucasian or African American woman or male who's perfect, but they need a face character. And Marvel, Disney, DC, whoever it is, like these characters are very specific, and it's not an anonymous character. Literally millions of people across the world know who these characters are and what they're supposed to look like. So that's going to be a red flag. So I understand protecting the brand as well. And as a performer, I can't imagine the heartbreak of going and preparing for something and they say, you're just a little too tall, and
I've
that must be frustrating.
You just have to be so good at handling rejection, and I think the hardest part for me is sometimes, and a lot of the time, because I'm pretty tall for most shows.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay.
Cutoff for most things is usually 5'7", which it's only an inch. You would think, hey, it's far away on stage, you can't tell, but they're like, most places are so specific about that. Sure. And I think the hardest part for me sometimes is the casting director will say, like, you were great, you were awesome, you're just an inch too tall. And I'm like, I wish that sometimes they'd give me something to work on, so at least I could take my frustration and my heartbreak that I didn't get this job and go train my ass off and work on it for months so that I can come back and say, hey, I learned this skill that you told me.
Sure.
But when they say you're too tall, you're too short, you're too this, and there's nothing you can do about it, sometimes it's that's the hardest part, is there's nothing else you can do about it.
Man. Well, so in addition to that, I'm curious, everyone has influences, right? And people that you kind of glean from. And kind of not to return too much in the past, but as you're going through school, I'm curious if you had any teachers that were influential, maybe not necessarily in the career path that you've chosen, but in life in general, and how they impacted you.
No teachers in school in particular, but my gymnastics coaches. I had 4 coaches at the gym that I grew up at in Boulder that were just really awesome people, all very different from each other, all had very different philosophies about kind of life. And it may seem silly that that's what took over, but I was in gymnastics more than I was in school growing up. Sure. You go to practice 2 hours in the morning, you go to school, and then you go 6 hours at night. I was there, I saw my coaches more than my parents, more than my teachers at school.
Sure.
It's kind of where I grew up, and they were very influential on me, and I think they were the ones that just kind of not even steered me into this career path, but really helped me grow into the person that I became. And I think without that gym and without those coaches, I have no idea what path I would have chosen or kind of person I would have ended up being, because they really shaped me from a young age all the way up through high school.
That's really profound in that, whether it's a teacher, coach, Boy Scout leader, Girl Scout, whatever, youth group advisor, the example they can set, not only by their instruction to you, but when you spend that much time around people, they have to be influential in how you conduct yourself and how your life turns out. So that's really interesting.
They're still extremely a huge part of my life. I'm almost 30 now. I graduated high school over 10 years ago.
Sure.
I haven't been in that gym in over 10 years. And every time I go back home, I go into the gym, we'll talk for hours and catch up. They were all at my wedding. They've all come out and seen the show. It's kind of, gymnastics is one of those weird sports that if you're not in it, you think that it's totally crazy and weird.
Yeah.
And if you're in it, you're no one else will ever understand what it's like to, it's a very painful sport. And having those coaches, I think, like I said, they're still part of my life this many years later, and I know they will be forever.
Sure.
So gymnastics is a weird bond of a sport, but
so not a large community. Do you find that based on your gymnastics background, does that help? It has to help in your stunt work and skill set. Is there a carryover outside of active performance and things like that you glean from or you take away from gymnastics?
I think a lot of discipline and time management. Okay. Growing up, it was my whole life was school and the gym, and to be able to find figuring out homework and trying to have a social life or go on family vacations and doing stuff like that, figuring out time management and really helping set priorities for what you want. I think that helped. And then just a lot of self-discipline. Like, I started realizing in gymnastics, like, they would give us this page of a strength list that we had to complete every single day before we started, like the normal vault bars, beam, floor and stuff. And it was a card that you check everything off on your own. And I was like, I could cheat on all of this and be done in half an hour and go just hang out and talk to my girlfriends. And no one would know. So it's a lot of, and then I was like, okay, I can skip the 20 pull-ups, but then I'm the one that's going to be weaker than everyone else who's not cheating. And so I remember age maybe 12 or 13 kind of realizing like, oh, like, I don't want to do this today. I'm tired. Like, I'm going to just cheat on all this stuff. And then realize, that didn't work well the last couple weeks. And now I'm a lot weaker than all the girls who were doing it. So I think just a lot of self-discipline when no one's watching and helping. I think that really helped a lot in the discipline that I have for myself now.
That's massive. Yeah. So being so active and being so involved, especially with the girlfriends, coaches, etc., kind of different question, but do you have any nicknames?
Oh my God. Yeah, I do. Let me explain it first.
I was going to ask, give me a backstory of where this came from.
The first thing I say, everyone's going to be like, why is that her nickname? Okay, so the nickname, and I haven't told a lot of people this.
Okay.
The nickname is Teabag.
Okay.
Now, let me explain.
This is the backstory, yeah.
First name is Taylor. My middle name before I got married was Bagwell, which is actually like a very big family name, is my grandpa's middle name. Okay. Long history of Bagwells in my family. But Taylor.
Is that a surname at some point as well, or has it always been the middle name?
I'm not sure. I feel like it was a surname 4 generations ago.
Okay.
And so, anyway, first name Taylor, middle name Bagwell, Teabag.
Makes sense.
And then at gymnastics, it became Baggy. Like, there's this one girl, my best friend in gymnastics, Nina, like, it went from Teabag to Baggy. And so, Teabag and Baggy, they're really not glamorous names at all. And
I can see why you wouldn't embrace those really well.
No, I hated it. And when I got married, I changed my last name to my middle name so that Bagwell was gone, which, like, my parents were like, this is a family name. I'm like, you guys, it like tortured me my whole, like, I'm not putting this in there anymore.
Sure, yeah.
And I never like told anyone my middle name. People had to look it up, and they found it through my grandpa, who was pretty famous from developing the hotels in Hawaii, and his middle name was Bagwell. So people looked it up through, like, when they would Google me, he would show up, and then they like put 2 and 2 together. So, because I didn't tell anyone. So that's how they'd find out what it was. So at the meets, like, when the girls are cheering for me, they'd be like, Teabag or Baggy, and I'm like, guys, like, people are gonna like not think this is a good nickname.
That's so funny. So then in my research, this was the Cats gymnastics
Cats,
team?
yeah.
Okay. And then did any of that, I mean, I presume as soon as gymnastics finished, you squashed that.
Oh, yeah.
Those people that were calling you that weren't coming into the stunt world with you, right?
No, yeah. And I mean, none of the girls at my gym, we all dispersed to different colleges. None of us went to the same colleges. So when I went to Arizona State, where I went to school, when I went there, I not even another person from my high school went there. And it was out of state, far away from everyone. So I was like, I'm recreating myself here. I'm not telling anyone my middle name. And so no one knew my nickname there. It was definitely like a middle school, high school thing. So
nice.
Glad I got it done when I was young, and probably helped toughen me up a little bit.
A little bit, thicker skin.
Yeah.
So then chose Arizona State.
Yep.
What made you decide on Arizona State as opposed to staying at home or any other school?
So this is very interesting. My parents had a rule that me and my 2 sisters had to go out of state for college, which is strange because most parents, please stay in state, like, stay close to me. I don't want you to leave. You're my baby. So many of my friends,
plus the financial side,
and in-state tuition is way better. So many of my friends, I want to go to Washington, but my mom really wants me to stay close, so I'm going to stay. Like, I heard that so much. My parents were like, get out. You have to go out of state. Like, we will pay for it wherever you guys want to go, wherever you get in, but it has to be outside of the state of Colorado. And growing up, me and my sisters, you guys hate us, and everyone else wants their kids to stay here.
Sure.
And their philosophy behind it was growing up in Hawaii. When you go out of state, which most people try to, you're a day's plane ride away. You can't go home on the weekends. You can't you're very, very far away. And so my parents both went to the University of Colorado after they finished school in Hawaii. And they said it was like the best, scariest, biggest kind of life development lesson that they had ever had. Right. And so they wanted that for their kids. So all three of us had to go out of state. So I picked Arizona State. They had a great gymnastics program. I wanted a really big football school. Like I wanted the full big college experience.
Absolutely.
And I wanted somewhere really warm. Like I very much need like heat all the time. If it's 90 degrees outside, like I'm happy.
Perfect.
Yeah, like 80 is a little cold for me.
Yeah. Okay. So not just warm, like it needs to be hot
like the desert. Like I belong in the desert. And so Arizona, not too far from Colorado, good gymnastics school, big football school. And very, very warm. Nice. And I loved Arizona. That's awesome. I think if there was a entertainment industry there, I would live there.
In like Phoenix area?
Phoenix, yeah. Okay. And Arizona State's in Tempe, which is a part of Phoenix.
Sure.
And I love the desert. I love the heat, but there's not a lot of entertainment there, so.
Do you go back, or have you been back?
I've been back several times just to visit friends, and then when we've gone there, we've played there with the show twice.
Okay.
And so every time we're there with the show, I'm like so happy. Everyone else is miserable walking to work when it's 110, and I'm like, yes.
This is amazing.
Yes.
It's interesting that your parents left Hawaii to a colder climate to go to school, and you did the opposite.
Oh yeah, no. And then after college, I was like, okay, where else is warm, but I can like do entertainment? Sure. Florida. Okay, Florida. So
that has to have been like a big shock in that. Yes, it's warm, but I've been to Florida a couple times now, and obviously working there, the humidity.
Oh yeah,
must have crushed you.
I have to say, I hate the humidity. I love the heat, hate the humidity. I think that's why I like Arizona, because it's just dry.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, feels good.
The heat without the clamminess.
Yeah, I hate the humidity, but it's where all the entertainment is.
Nice. When you got onto tour, you were single. Now you're married, and you're kind of doing your thing as it were. As far as your plans, like, do you want children? Is that something you're planning on?
I definitely want children.
Do you have like, I want 2 kids or 5 kids or whatever, and you have this whole plan, or just? I used to think I wanted a lot of kids and that I wanted them like pretty soon. I'll tell you this: my parents, me and Gary, are both the oldest. Okay. Siblings are all younger, not married. Kids are kind of not in the near future for them at all. So my parents and Gary's parents are all like, please, 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 please. Give some grandkids.
They've been begging us for years to get off tour and have kids. Gary actually like cannot wait to be a dad, which is funny because he's younger than me. And now that the funny thing is, so Louie, you remember Louie? She was like my best friend on tour. Got pregnant on tour, just had her baby, and because her and I have been so close, I've kind of been with her through her whole journey, and we're very similar. Big athletes, very strong CrossFit competitors, and then seeing her go through it all and kind of hearing everything, now I'm like, I don't want to go through that. That seems awful. Like, and so now I'm kind of like, maybe I'll wait a couple years. But like my parents and Gary's parents, it's all they want. It's all Gary wants. So I'm like, and I'm close to 30, so I probably should do it soon. But I think if I had the choice, I'd like wait till I was maybe like 35, but that's probably not the best idea. My biggest thing is that I wanted to, when I got off the road, I wanted to do a big CrossFit competition. And there's this one in Florida coming up this summer. And so my whole thing was like, on tour I can do CrossFit and be fit and be healthy and everything, but not to the extent that I could outside of tour. I can't meal prep everything that I really want to in a kitchen, and I drop into a different gym every week. Some gyms have this equipment, some gyms don't. Like, it's not ideal for being a really high level athlete like I want to. So my whole plan was, as long as I can go and do a competition to the absolute best of my ability, having all the tools, coaching and food and gyms and everything that I need to compete at the highest level and see how it goes, if I can get that out of the way, then if I need to take a year or whatever to go and grow a human, then there's nothing that I am really going to regret. So I think that's the biggest thing, talking to Louie and several of my friends who were athletes and had children, is they said, there was this competition I wanted to do. I really wish I would have done this, and now I can't. And I think, like, I've literally traveled the whole world and gotten to do a sport or a career that you can't do with a family.
Sure.
And now I think doing a big competition, like being able to actually like train for it and stuff properly, I think getting all of that done, that I wouldn't have any regrets if I needed to slow the pace on being an athlete and being a performer and stuff to have a family. So I think it's kind of my way of, if I can do all of this and then whatever happens in the future, at least there's nothing that I'm going to say, oh, like, I wish I would have done that. Because, like, when I do have a child, like, that is going to be, like, I already know, that's going to be the total
Priorities
focus.
change,
Yeah,
for sure.
priorities completely going to change. And I know that. And I never want to have something in the back of my mind saying, oh, like.
Just lingering.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, I do not question your ability to do that. And I'm curious, and I don't know if you know, but it'd be interesting to see how many CrossFit competitors, especially at a very high level, have families. Because once you have the child, and Gary being the amazing man that he is, and your family being very supportive, I don't envision that that's something that you would ever give up, but it certainly would seem to be a situation that you probably could make work if that was something you wanted.
I think I could make it work, but I don't want to feel the pressure of, oh, like, I have to go back to performing, I have to go back to competing. Like, I want to, if whatever the priority is, I want to be able to give it my all and not have to be like, well, I need to do this so that I can go back to doing that. Like, I want to, whatever happens, I want to be able to feel completely content with it, because I do know friends of mine who've gone back to performing and stuff, but it's different.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
totally different.
It has to be, man. So you can tell just by talking to you when you commit to something, you're fully invested and you're all in.
Yeah.
Rewind me back to, say, 10, 11, 12 years old. Walk me through a perfect day as Taylor at a 12-year-old.
I'd say, like, I'd wake up and have, creamed eggs. My mom used to make creamed eggs. It sounds so gross, but she'd make it every Easter, and it was delicious. Have that for breakfast.
Okay.
Go to the gymnastics gym for 2 hours. Morning practices was, like, strength and conditioning. Go to school for a couple hours. I really didn't have, like, a social life or friends outside of gymnastics.
So you enjoyed school enough that would be part of your perfect day?
Yeah, actually, like, I liked it. It was fine. Cool. But then, like, going back to the gym at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and being there all night. Probably, I would say not doing beam in the workout that day, because I hated beam and I was terrible at it. Doing all the other events, and then going home. I would say having dinner with my family, because I finished gymnastics so late every single night that I never had a family dinner. So, like, having dinner with my family. And then I'd say, like, if I wasn't growing up in Colorado, like, going to the beach at some point. But growing up in Colorado, that wasn't really a thing. So. Sure. And then definitely having it be summertime when it was warm. I hated the winters in Colorado.
Okay, that's perfect.
So yeah, it's not like that glamorous, but that's, like, was my passion. That's what I loved. Yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward to now. Walk me through a perfect day.
Ooh, wake up, oatmeal for breakfast. Go to CrossFit in the morning. Like, I'd want to be, like, working out on a competitive team with a big group of girls. It's fun working out on tour, but I don't have anyone that challenges me, really, since Louie left. So I think training with a group of girls that are better than me, so I can really, like, push myself. Say CrossFit in the morning, and then go to Universal to do a show in the afternoon.
Perform, yeah.
Okay, I love performing. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Something that's probably not quite as high level as this show, but something that I can still like compete and sustain and not have to recover so much from the show. So then probably go do a show in the afternoon, and then maybe go to the beach or go to dinner or something with Gary and just kind of hang out in the afternoon or, like, in that evening, and then go to bed and do it again. Yeah. Like, just, it's not a lot, but it's like those are the things that make me super happy.
No, that's why I love asking that question because for some people their perfect day is just lounging around and just hanging out with family. Other people, I want to be active and I want to fill the whole day full of activities. And
fill the day, be active, be outside a lot. Like I liked working at Universal a lot because it's all outside. All the venues are outside.
Sure.
And then Gary, obviously, because I love him a lot. I love spending time with him. But yeah,
keep him around.
Keep him around. Just being active, being outside, and that's what makes me happy.
Nice. So speaking of happiness, you have so many things to draw on. If I asked you to narrow it down to one thing, can you identify the single happiest moment of your life?
Oh my gosh, in my life?
Like when you need to go to your happy place and just find cheerfulness and happiness, what's your go-to? What do you think about?
I honestly think about my wedding because even though it was freezing, it was in the wintertime. We had to get married in 1 week of the year because of the show.
Sure.
Even though it was freezing, it was like the one time in my life that every single person that I loved and cared about was in one place. And as weird as this sounds, it was a day that revolved around me. And that
not weird at all.
And like as a performer, you love attention. It's true. I know, and I love attention.
Absolutely.
I love being a primary character in the show, like just the way I am. I think just having a day that was about me, and then like knowing that like I was actually marrying Gary, who like I personally think is so far out of my league. I don't know how he married me. Like I think when you marry someone like that, and you're like, how did I get so lucky? Like, is this real? Like, what? I feel like I didn't really deserve this. Like, knowing that he was the one that was marrying that day, and then having every single person that you love and loves you in one place, like celebrating your happiness, was like the coolest thing that could ever be. And there wasn't any working out, there wasn't any of that. Like that definitely makes me happy. But my friends and my family, and obviously my husband, and it was. It's just like, it was such a cool, perfect, magical day. It was cold, but like a lot of it was outside, like the mountains. We were in the mountains, and it was so cool. It was a really cool day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, to be able to pull from so many positive things in your life and have that be the culminating, like, single happiest moment. Everyone hopes for that, right? For whether it's your wedding or, you hope to find some memory or some experience that's like, this is it. Like, this is everything. So that's awesome. Thank you. So I'm curious as well, being involved, I mean, you are a USA gymnastics coach, and you have endorsement or promotional contracts and involvement, with all kinds of companies and things like that. Is there any particular organization or group that just really inspires you that you would mention above or in the same conversation with?
I've worked with a lot of... I've had endorsements from a lot of really, really cool companies that their sole, platform is professional athletes. Mm-hmm. And that whole realm of training and recovery, and like, it's such a cool thing to be a part of. Like I did some stuff with Muscle Milk for a long time, Lululemon, Born Primitive, which are both apparel companies, but they, it's all for athletes. And
Absolutely.
I think just that whole bubble of athletes and supporting athletes is kind of my favorite thing. And I used to work for Lululemon, and it's cool because they give all of their employees free memberships to like the local gyms and yoga studios and CrossFit gyms and stuff. They pay for that. So it's really cool that you could, and you don't have to be an athlete to work there. Anyone can work there. But the fact that they support whoever you are, big, small, you need to lose 100 pounds, you need to gain 20 pounds, whatever it is, like that they support every single person. I think that that's a really cool thing that they have going for them. And I really liked working for them in that and working with them, because like some of the other people that I'd work with weren't competitive athletes at all. Like they were yoga instructors, and I used to be like, oh, like yoga, like anyone can do yoga. And then you go train with these people and you're like, my God, like this is really hard. So I think just like in general, just the support of healthy and active lifestyle is something that I can really kind of thrive with.
That's awesome. I didn't realize Lululemon, I mean, you hope that every company is inclusive, right? But to purposely go out and fairness, maybe they don't advertise it, but
they don't advertise it at all, which is also kind of cool. But they're they're very much so about community. And I think that's like, it's so cool that like I became friends with all the local yoga and CrossFit and cycling studio owners because everyone knows each other and supports each other. And it was just something that I found really cool.
That's awesome.
So I loved working with them. Yeah.
So being on tour, I found me particularly, like I always say, like, oh, the nerd is wearing off, right? Because surrounded by all kinds of different people and their different backgrounds, and so man, like, oh, I really got into this or whatever. So I'm curious if you have anything. What's the last thing you really geeked out about?
I remember seeing Infinity Wars. Like, I think it's cool that you set up the movies for all of us because it's, you know, it's like our whole show. It's like it's what supports the whole show is these movies. Yeah. And I remember seeing Infinity Wars. I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't look up any of the spoilers and stuff. But when Gamora died and Thanos threw her off the cliff, and like half the cast and crew like turned around and looked at me, and I was like, oh my God, like I was like crushed. Like, and it's funny because like I'm not into comics or anything like that. I'd never seen any of the movies before I got on tour and needed to do my research. And I remember like for like a week being like heartbroken that like my character had died in these like epic, awesome movies. And it was the first time that I was like, why do I care about this? Like, I don't care about comics. This is dumb. And being like heartbroken, being like, oh no, like she's like a little bit of a part of me because I like poured my heart and soul into this role. And that was the first time I was like, oh no, like no, I'm in it. Like this hurts so bad. Like I know that this is a big part of me.
So Endgame, I mean, you have to be looking forward to that to see what happens, right? So.
I'm just hoping that being here in Mexico that no one spoils it ahead of time before I go see it. I'm like so worried that because whenever stuff with Gamora happens, everyone messages me about it. Like after Infinity,
you have to turn off all your social media.
Yes, no, like seriously, everyone sends me messages and posts all the photos and stuff on my thing. So I'm just like, yeah, maybe I just need to turn it all off until I can go back to the States and see it.
Breathe for a little bit. That's really funny.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions I want to ask is, you have so many accomplishments in your life and so many accolades and awards and recognition for so many things. And in fairness, like, you've done a lot, right? Whether you recognize that, I think everyone that I'm talking to, you know, when you stop and think about, like, holy cow, like 28, 29, 30, 31, whatever, in that age group of what I'm speaking to you guys, there's a lot you've accomplished. My question is, what are you most proud of?
Honestly, I think this show. I think I'm one of the people that has been with Marvel Universe Live the longest. I was with it day one, Marvel one from the very beginning. And like I've been a part of a lot of different shows, but I've never actually built a show and like created it since this company, building it from Marvel 1 and Marvel 2.
You've done it twice now,
Yeah, I've done it twice now. I think some people don't realize like it's a cool experience, but it's really, really hard. Like we built Marvel 1 for like 6 months, and I remember like it's just like it was the most frustrated and like the most fun that I've had both at the same time, and going through such a difficult process where like you're not the one in charge, you're told to do these things, and sometimes you have to say like, sorry, like that's not possible, or I can't change in this quick of a time. Like it taught me so much about, I think, myself going through the process of doing both of these shows, that I'm a very different person than I was before these shows started, just being a part of shows and jumping in the middle of them. But I think being there to create them and having to go through that is something to be so proud of, because it's so difficult. But then when you get to have this really cool product at the end after all of your hard work, and it was like a lot of like literal blood, sweat, and tears for both of them. And I think going through such a difficult process and then having something so cool to show off for it at the end, and something that you get to be that proud of, is a really cool accomplishment to have. And I think a lot of the times I don't realize it or think about it at all until people like will come up and be like, you have like the coolest job in the world, like this is amazing, like look what you get to do every day, like oh my god. And I'm kind of like, oh yeah, no, like not a lot of other people who get paid to travel the world and paint their face screen every day. Like, I think I forget about it a lot, and I get totally lost in the grind of the show and being frustrated I don't have a fridge for a week or whatever. That I forget like how really cool it is what we do and how passionate I am about it. But I think because this is kind of the biggest thing in my life that has shaped me who I am, like especially gaining a husband on the show, and now we're going to kind of go start a new life. Like it's really what shaped a lot of my adulthood, which is funny because it's a kid's show. But I think it's like the thing that I'm definitely most proud of and feel most accomplished for.
Nice. Thank you. That's awesome. Gonna flip the script a little bit here and give you a chance, because the next two questions I have are actually for you, directed at me.
Okay.
So what I always ask is there anything you've ever wanted to know about me, but you just never had an opportunity to ask? I'm giving you the floor now to get that chance.
Okay, I know exactly what I'm going to ask you, but it's a little personal.
That's okay.
Okay. I just know, like, you know,
a lot,
there's never a time that I'm like, this is an appropriate time to ask this.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know who's Kai's mom and why we've never met her, or why she's not in the picture, or just who's Kai's mom.
Sure. So for the viewers who don't know, Kai is my son. He's 12. Kai's mom, her name is Cassandra. I won't dime her out or anything like that. She lives in Reno at the time, right now, with him. We were married for many, many years. We got to travel and experience life together, and then we separated after Kai was about 2 years old. So she is from Nevada, actually.
Okay, I didn't know she was
climate
from
as
Hawaii.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's from the Mesquite, Nevada area, just outside of Las Vegas. She's an amazing mother, incredible person, and I'd like to think that I wouldn't have gotten into a relationship with anyone less than what I deemed as exceptional. And yeah, so she lives in Reno with her husband and other child, and as far as I'm concerned, is an amazing mother with Kai. And he is the young man that he is as a direct result of who she is and what she's done. She is, as you can associate with, I'm sure, she's gone all in, and she's dedicated a lot to being a great mother. And so yeah, that's the short answer, I guess.
Yeah,
it could go on and on, but yeah. I've
just always been curious, and you never know when, you know, it's obviously not something that you would bring up freely all the time. Yeah. So you always just wonder, and I won't say that you're a closed book, but I enjoy your professionalism in that you don't share your personal stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a little mysterious to you. So I've always just wondered.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because I often find that there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, everybody has their personal experiences and not necessarily secrets, but you don't just put your business out in the open, so to speak, right? And I do try to maintain that. And so it's interesting because a lot of people ask, well, hey, you know, I've always wanted this and that, you know, so it never occurred to me that I didn't really bring that up or address that. And Kai's mom is obviously part of my life and part of his life. So yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I've always just wondered.
So then I will preface this and understand, and because I've asked this many times already, and the first time I asked it, as soon as I asked the question, I was like, well, it's kind of morbid and really terrible. But I ask it anyway because in my experience, being many years older than you and having the life experiences that I have, and especially as I'm kind of I have some kind of chronicle of my interactions with people that I get to meet and interact with. If this was, so this is the kind of morbid part, but if this is the last time you and I spoke, right, and you never got to speak to me again, and I'm not saying I die or something like that, but if you had an opportunity to say anything to me, this is the last time I see you, what do you think you would say?
Oh my gosh. Obviously, thank you. Like, obviously, because there's, you know, a lot that you've done to help me physically and I think mentally get through the show sometimes. But I mean, that's like kind of a given. Everyone's going to thank you because you're wonderful on the show.
That's very kind.
What I want to say to you, I think that I kind of, like, as I was saying before, appreciate someone on the show that has no bias towards anyone. Like, I think you honestly are one of the only people that I could go to on this show, cast, crew, or staff, that I could ask a question or have a conversation, and regardless of what feelings you have about other people, like, you're going to be honest with me. I think there's a lot of people, and it's like hard because our show like is our job, which is our life. Like, a lot of people get to go home at the end of the day and have this separation, but having to be with people that you work with and live with, and it's all one thing together. I think that's really difficult, and there's not a lot of people that I feel like I could talk to that would be like straight with me about things, or that I could just like go and like cry to you about something or tell you how I'm feeling and you wouldn't judge me or think less of me. I think it's kind of sad, but our show is so cliquey that it's hard to find people like that. And I think, and like, I'm not very, I don't explain emotions a lot. I try not to show emotions a lot. So I think telling you that you are probably, and like, obviously my husband, but he's biased towards me. Like,
as he should be.
Yeah. That you're probably one of the only people that I could go to with an issue, and you would be like, sorry, like, you're wrong about this, or like, yeah, I think you need to go talk to this person, or whatever it is, that you're probably one of the only people that I feel like don't take sides with anyone, which is sadly really rare on this show, but so important. And I think you're one of the only people that possess that. So I just want to tell you that you've done a really good job of being that person, because it's so easy with this job to not be that person.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
The last couple questions I have are the same every time I speak to somebody.
Okay.
And I preface it, and there's the asterisk here that is completely plagiarized, and I understand that. But it's a series of questions taken from a French TV personality interviewer.
Okay, cool.
So I stole them from a gentleman named James Lipton, who stole them from this guy. And he has this show. He is the dean of a very prestigious university, Pace University. So if you've ever seen the show Inside the Actors Studio,
No.
not many have, and there's this whole conglomerate of, there's millions of people who have. So it's always kind of, I'm curious if you've seen these. So they're very telling, but I'm going to ask you, and they're not like, you don't have to give me like this huge explanation of why you're answering the questions, but it's just kind of, I'm curious, and like I said, it'll be interesting. So finally, anyway, what's your favorite word?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's kind of two words together, but hard work.
Hard work?
Like
hyphenated, maybe.
Hyphenated, yeah, hard work. Just, I think in anything you do, I enjoy hard work. And I think hard work pays off in whatever. If you're being a mom, if you're working in an office, if you're an athlete, whatever it is, I think hard work is what shapes people.
For sure. It's clearly shaped you.
Yes.
So. What's your least favorite word?
Lazy. Like, if I were ever to be called lazy, I think it would like break me a little bit and totally help, open my eyes a little bit. And I also have a really hard time with people that are lazy. Like, it irks me a lot. So I think personally it's something I want to stay so far away from that it helps shape me. And then the people that are lazy, that either get away with things without working hard, I have a lot less respect for them. And you can tell it's something that drives me a little bit.
Absolutely.
So it's something I want to stay away from always. And I think no one should ever have to possess lazy.
Interesting that they're contrasting opposites, your favorite and least. So that makes sense. What turns you on?
Strength.
Okay.
Like, I think me being able to do something really strong, and then seeing, like, if I were to see Gary hit like a new PR at the gym, or actually one thing that I never think about it, and I'm always like, oh, that's pretty hot. Seeing someone that has a skill that I didn't really know about that they can do really easily. Like, I've noticed, like, a lot of the times, especially building our house, when Gary can, he'll do things and build something, and I'm like it's, I think people having these really cool skills that they don't tell anyone about is It's like a total turn on for me. It's it's a really strange thing. But people being really, really strong, I think like when I watch like really high level male and female athletes do things like, oh, like it's so cool to be able to possess something that's so amazing. And then same with just like skill sets. I think being able to just have a really cool skill set in different things is like, it's really attractive for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then conversely, what turns you off?
Oh, like, but yeah, like the opposite of that. Like just...
what is the opposite of that?
I'd like lazy and out of shape. Like nothing about that attracts me at all.
Right.
And then I'd say like people being mean to people who can't stand up for themselves. Like there's that, it bothers me so much. Like if I see people picking on someone or something that can't stand up for themselves, like not only am I not attracted to that, but like I want to kick that person's ass. Like that, that's so unattractive is seeing that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. The next question is, what's your favorite curse word?
Fuck. And the funny thing is, so before this show, I didn't really swear a lot. Mm-hmm. It's just like the nature and the grittiness of this show and like stuff that goes wrong. And it's just sometimes like you're just in the worst city and everything's just fuck this and fuck and like it's just, it's a great word. It's such a good word. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
Barbells hitting the floor with weights. Like it's like this chink sound, and you like if you are in that sport at all, you hear it. Like I'll hear people watching like a video of it, and I'm like, someone's watching weightlifting, like someone's watching that
Nice.
that sound. And then there's a really cool sound that a balance beam in gymnastics makes. There are these new type of hollowed out balance beams that this company makes that the high level competitors compete on, and when you do skills on it, it's this really pretty kind of echoey hollowed out sound. And I remember competing on, like I said, beam was my, like, I was horrible at beam. The one thing that I just, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't be good at was beam. But whenever I competed and they had these special beams that made these sounds, like I felt like invincible and I would do really well. And it was something about the feeling of it in my feet and hearing it that I really liked. And I've always, like, ever since I was little and started competing, I've always like heard that sound. So those two sounds, I love those sounds. Yeah.
Nice. What sound or noise do you hate?
Crying babies.
Okay.
Like when you're
not uncommon. Yeah.
Not uncommon, but like when you're on an airplane or like in a hotel room where the walls are thin and you hear a baby just screaming, like there's nothing that just like makes you want to be so far away. Yeah. And it's just like, and because it's nothing that you can easily stop, like it's something that you have to wait for a long time for it to stop. It's just that sound. It's like being on an airplane with a crying child is like the worst sound I think that you can ever hear.
Awesome. What profession, other than your own, of course, would you most like to attempt?
Like, is mine like general athlete? Like, does it have to be something outside
of something you already do or currently do? If you said, all right, you can be really good at this, what would you like to try to do?
I mean, I can't really picture myself outside of like the athletic sports type of a thing. So if I had to do a different sport that I've never really done, I would say it would be tennis. I've always been told I'd be a really good tennis player. Like I did, like a couple, growing up, we do all the different sports. And so I did tennis for a little bit when I was younger in Colorado. And I'd taken like a couple lessons, and like the tennis club that day had a competition, and there was like a girl that was sick, and so they went and asked my mom like, hey, we need another girl, can she do this competition? My mom's like, she's been in lessons for 2 weeks, like she's not a tennis player. And I remember her telling me that like when I was older, and her being like, yeah, no, like you were really good. I loved gymnastics a lot more, and I never really thought about that. And when she told me that later, I'd always been like, I wonder if I had like given my all to tennis, if I could have been a really great like professional tennis player. So I've always Like, it's just something I've always wondered about, but like since that one time, I've never picked up a tennis racket. So it's always been like I wonder if I'd be like a world champion tennis player if I would have tried that.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. What profession would you least like to attempt?
ooh, like something in like a cold office.
At a
Like with
desk
not a
or
lot
no
of,
windows?
with no people around. Like I really like working with a lot of people and talking to people. Something that's cold where I had to wear like, yeah, like, I don't know, what am I really not good at wearing? Like dresses or like, I don't know, like a suit type of
pantsuit, yeah.
pantsuit, like where I had to work with, yeah, like numbers and finance or something. That sounds awful to me. That sounds so awful. I'm sure I can think of something a lot worse, but I mean, like, honestly, I'd rather be like a garbage man or something, because then you're like outside and you're like lifting things and like talking to like, hey, Mr. Smith, like, you know, like you're like, I'd rather do that than like, I think work in an office where you're just like sitting down all day.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, whether you believe it or not, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Wow, you really lived your life to the fullest.
Good.
I think I always want to, like, if I died tomorrow or whatever, that I I really lived my life. I might not be the richest person in the world and have a beautiful car, but like I traveled the world and I had a really great family and got to see and do a lot of really cool things. Like, I think I live my life for experiences, and I just want to live and do cool stuff. And I think if God were up there and was like, you really did it all, like, that's what I'd like to hear.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, with everyone I get to speak to, it's not always, while we have conversations and we talk almost every day, seemingly, at least to some measure, it's not often I get to sit down for an hour or more.
It's never.
Talk. So I appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot, and it's been a pleasure wherever, and I'm sure this isn't the end of our relationship for life, but as I said, it's been a pleasure to have seen you and watched you work and perform. And in the short time that I've known you, even your growth and development in that year and a half, or will be 2 years or so, it's very impressive. So I'm grateful to have, had this experience in my life and had you in my life to influence it, and I mean Kai for that matter as well. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. This was a cool. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but this was. It's cool. There's not a lot of people that take an hour out of their day to show interest in someone else. So it's
good.
This was really, really fun.
I think you will find there are many, many more people interested in as well. So we see hope. So Thank you for tuning in and watching. We appreciate Taylor's time, and thanks again.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Sweet. That was fun.